Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today's brief talk is about the virtues of earning a living and some of its challenges. Some reflections also, just reflections on how one should be looking to work and be productive. The first verse is from the Quran. Allah in the Quran says, وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا. We have made the days, or we have made the day as a source of sustenance. And he also says in another verse, وَآخَرُونَ يَضْرِبُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ يَبْتَغُونَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. And others walk on the earth, hit the road, seeking the blessings of Allah. The farmers, anyone who's busy these days in the essential services, they have to be out there walking and seeking Allah's blessings and favors. And in the khabar, so some narrations that are attributed to the Prophet ﷺ, we are told وَمِنَ الذُّنُوبِ لَا يُكَفِّرُهَا إِلَّا الْهَمُّ فِي طَلَبِ الْمَعِيشَةِ. And there are certain things, okay, certain sins that can only be expiated through the hardships of earning a living. And that happens to a lot of us. You know, we work long hours, 12 hours, sometimes 6-7 days a week, and that's because there's a blessing in working so hard. There's the sins are expiated in doing that. It's also highly recommended that a person is busy. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu used to say, I despise the person who that I see who is busy, who is idle in everything, in both his affairs of the world and his affairs of the hereafter. He's just not doing anything. Someone who's not productive. So we should always be productive and busy and moving and doing something, earning a living or being productive. Ibrahim ibn Adham was also, we were told that he was with his companions in the sea, and a severe storm hit them, and there was a severe wind and waves, sea waves, and they came to complaining to him. They told him, "Oh, Ibrahim, look at this. This is so terrible." He says, "You know what's so terrible? إنما الشدة الحاجة إلى الناس." You know what's so terrible? It's to beg. It's to beg when you don't have a job. It's so difficult when you need something and you have to ask people. So those are some of the reflections on earning a living, and one should earn a living lawfully. You know, we have to really be very just, especially in these days with remote access to your office. We have to be just, honest, and trustworthy. So we have to be very careful with how we deal with our business, and we have to make sure that we don't take advantage of the situation in any way or form. We should also be very easy when we make deals, or when we do business. We should try to be very comforting and appeasing. The Prophet tells us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rahimallahu mar'an سهل البيع سهل الشراء سهل القضاء سهل الاقتداء. Allah's mercy is on the person who's very easy in dealing, in buying and selling, and borrowing or doing any form of contract transactions. And when selling, take advantage of the situation in any way or form. We should also be very easy when we make deals, or when we do business. We should try to be very comforting and appeasing. The Prophet tells us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rahimallahu mar'an سهل البيع سهل الشراء سهل القضاء سهل الاقتداء. Allah's mercy is on the person who's very easy in dealing, in buying and selling, and borrowing or doing any form of contract transactions. And when selling, one should be very sure to show the defects. And the more you are honest, the more barakah, the more blessings that your business will have. And one very interesting relationship that this transactions, these business transactions have is the contract that we have with Allah, which is La ilaha illallah. So this contract with Allah is our first contract, and everything else is underneath it. The contract we have with society, the contract we have with our, with our marital relationship, with our children, with our jobs. So all of those contracts have they have a source, and that source is the contract which we have with Allah. And that's why the Prophet tells us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, man قال لا إله إلا الله مخلصا دخل الجنة. The one who says لا إله إلا الله, the one who says there is no one worthy of worship but Allah, with sincerity, with purity in his heart, he will enter paradise. So they've asked the Prophet ﷺ, what is the meaning of this ikhlas, this sincerity, mukhlisan. He says, and yuharrizahu amma harram Allah. If you have said this, if you have made this pact with Allah, this contract with sincerity, it will keep you away from doing anything wrong, anything unjust, anything unlawful. There's also a narration that says, he answered the question, so what is this ikhlas? He says, ما آمن القرآن بالقرآن من استحل محارمه. The one who makes the haram halal in the Quran, he does not believe in the Quran. So if you truly believe in Allah, if you truly believe in the Quran, then you have to keep that pact with everyone underneath La ilaha illallah. And there's different levels. So when we deal in a contract, there's certain obligations that is justice. Okay, you act, you buy, you sell, you fulfill your hours during the day, and that is justice. You said I worked 8 hours, and I have to be truthful. That's justice. And once you have fulfilled that justice, you should do a little bit more. And that's why Allah in the Quran says, Inna Allah ya'muru bil-'adli wal-ihsan. Allah orders us to behave with justice as well as excellence. Wal-ihsan. And this reminds me what I used to observe in Morocco over 40 years ago. My parents used to always tell me that when you bought something from anyone in the street, they would give you what you've paid, and then they would add you a little bit more. It's called tahrisha. Okay, so they're always going to give you a little bit more, and that is ihsan. So the first part is justice, and the second part is ihsan. Always do a little bit more. Always go a notch higher, and that notch is not beneficial to you. It's beneficial to the other person. It's beneficial to your employer, to the person that you're dealing with, that you've made a business transaction with. And that ihsan also, if it's not benefiting to you, Allah loves you for it, because you're making an effort to please the other person. Your interest is His interest. His interest is your interest. So you're looking out for the other person. And that's all Allah says, Inna rahmatallahi qareeb, because you're making an effort to please the other person. Your interest is His interest. His interest is your interest. So you're looking out for the other person. And that's all Allah says, Inna rahmatallahi qareebun min al-muhsinin. Allah's mercy is very close. His mercy is really close to those who are making that extra effort. And in the Quran, there's at least 5 verses that I found that says, Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. Allah loves those who are excellent in their behavior, in all forms of behavior. Wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin. Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. And so this is the level of business transactions that is expected of a good believer. Yunus ibn Ubayd, there's a famous person from I believe in Baghdad, who had a store, and he would sell suits, either 400 or 200, and sometimes his nephew would come and help him out in the store, and he would stay back while he would go and pray, and vice versa. So they would take turns. One day when when he went to pray, a foreigner came, someone who was not from Baghdad, came and he asked for the expensive suits, and then his eyes fell on the one that was worth 200, and he bought the one that is 200 for 400. So when he left with the suit on his hand, he met with Yunus bin Ubaid in the street, and he recognized this merchandise. It's his merchandise, and he says, "How much do you pay for this?" He says, "I paid 400." He says, "It's not worth more than 200. Come back with me. I'm going to give it back to you." He says, "But you don't have to. Where I come from, we pay 500 for this." He says, "Come with me." He returned his money, and when he left, he spoke to his nephew. He told him, "Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Don't you fear Allah?" He says, "You've sold this merchandise, this object, for 100%, and this is haram. To sell an object, to sell to make a deal with 100% is excessive. It's considered excessive. In fact, the margin should be very small." And Imam al-Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi in his book Al-Madini tells us that من قانع بربح قليل كثرت معاملته واستفاد من تكرارها ربحا كثيرا وبه تظهر البركة. Beautiful words. I mean, it's a one phrase, and it describes the entire concept of barakah. So he says, the one who is satisfied with a small margin, his dealings will be multiplied, and he will benefit from the barakah because it is multiplied. Even if it's small, if the margin is not huge, it will multiply, and that will be the blessing of his business. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, you all know the one of the 10 who were promised Jannah, and all the companions are promised Jannah. All the companions are promised Jannah, radiallahu anhum wa ardahum. But these were special, and they were given a special designation of al-Mubashirin, al-Asharat al-Mubashirin bil-Jannah. Abdurrahman ibn Auf was very rich, so rich, he would give his money and it would come back. He would just, some people complained to him, how could you have so much money? You have to be pious. Allah gave him that money. He was very rich and very successful businessman. They've asked him, "Tell us, ما سبب يسارك? What is the reason for your success and richness?" He says, "ما رددت ربحا قط." Okay, Abdurrahman ibn Auf was very rich, so rich, he would give his money and it would come back. He would just, some people complained to him, how could you have so much money? You have to be pious. Allah gave him that money. He was very rich and very successful businessman. They've asked him, "Tell us, ما سبب يسارك? What is the reason for your success and richness?" He says, "ما رددت ربحا قط." Okay, if I had a small margin and I was going to make a deal, I would never break it. I would just do it. Go ahead, give me whatever you want. ولا طلب مني حيوان فأخرت بيعه. And I was never asked for an animal, like a sheep for someone's herd. Like the farmer wants to multiply, so he buys a male animal. He would give it to him quickly, so he can benefit as quickly as possible. ولا بعت بنسيئة, and I've never sold by interest. He would never sell with interest. وَعَيَّاذُ بِاللَّهِ. So all his blessings, all his transactions were blessed. In fact, one time we were told that Abdurrahman ibn Auf he had 1,000 camels, and those camels, he sold them, and he made no margin. The only earnings that he made is to sell the reins of the camel with 1 dirham. So he made 1,000 dirham. He also earned, what did he earn? He saved 1,000 meals. Because if he keeps the camels one day, he has to spend on those camels 1,000 meals. So he saved from the meals, and he earned 1,000 dirhams from the reins, but he made no money from the camels themselves. So it's beautiful. It's interesting how, there is that philosophy of making things easy, and that's why the Prophet tells us, this is a perfect example of what the Prophet said, رحم الله امرأً سهل البيع سهل الشراء وسهل القضاء سهل القضاء اقتداء. Allah's mercy is on the person who is easy when he buys, easy when he sells, easy when he he borrows and pays back. So and in Bukhari and Muslims, there's a beautiful story the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. So it's the Prophet who's telling us that there was a man who was very calculating, musrifan ala nafsi. He was very spent on himself, but he also very, you know, maybe stingy or calculating, hawsab. And he was asked, and because he did nothing extra. He just did his business. He prayed his 5 prayers, he fasted, but he never extra charity, extra dhikr, extra Quran. And they've asked him, what else do you do? هل عملت خيرا قط? Have you done anything good? Any other goodness? He says, not really, except that I am, he was like a bank, and he had people working under him, and he told his employees specifically, سامح الموسر وأنظر المعسر. Okay, be easy, even with the ones that can pay, take it easy with them, and the ones that cannot pay, hold on, like don't push them. And he also in one narration he tells his employees, if the one cannot pay, just let him go, let him be. And it's we were told by the Prophet ﷺ that Allah is the one who responded. He says, نحن أحق بذلك منك. And he also in one narration he tells his employees, if the one cannot pay, just let him go, let him be. And it's we were told by the Prophet ﷺ that Allah is the one who responded. He says, نحن أحق بذلك منك. Subhanallah. If you're generous with your customers, I am even more generous. It's more rightful of me to be generous. And he said that Allah forgave him. فَتَجَاوَزَ عَنْهُ وَغَفَرَ لَهُ. He forgave everything. So this is, you earn such a great station with Allah just by being a great businessman, a beautiful person who deals with others. And the same vice versa, when you borrow money and you pay it back, the Prophet tells us ﷺ that you're the best of the people. خَيْرُكُمْ أَحْسَنُكُمْ قَضَاءً. The best of you is the one who pays back his money really quick, or he's fair in judging between others. And in fact, if you have a debt to pay, the Prophet ﷺ tells us that Allah assigns angels to pray for you, to help you pay your debt back. If your intention is to pay your debt, you have angels who are around you, who pray so that you can pay your debt back. So it's beautiful that we care about fulfilling our obligations in our business. In the Tabarani, we are told, and this is perhaps one of the most important part of this lecture, is that all of this has to do with your relationship with Allah first and foremost. When you're busy at work, in the office, in the marketplace, you are not really with Allah. You should be. Even if you're busy with your hands and your feet and your mind, you should be with Allah, with your heart. And that's why the Prophet tells us, ذَكِرُ اللَّهَ فِي الْغَافِلِينَ كَالْمُقَاتِلِ خَلْفَ الْفَارِّينَ وَكَالْحَيِّ بَيْنَ الْأَمْوَاتِ. The one who remembers Allah in the midst of those who are oblivious and not mindful of Him is like the one. Skip the middle phrase, and the last one will summarize it. كالحي بين الأموات. So the one who remembers Allah in the midst of those who are not who are oblivious of Him is like the one who's alive in the midst of those who are dead. So when you're busy at work, be also mindful of Allah, perfectly aware of Him. And we are told in one hadith, this may be not a very strong hadith, but the meaning is beautiful, and we have to. And there is a story that supports it as well. It says that if the one who enters the marketplace and says La ilaha illallah, a beautiful dua, لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. No need to translate it here, but beautiful dhikr. If you enter the marketplace and you're thinking about Allah, just say La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La sharika lahu, and so on. This person earns 1,000 times 1,000 blessings. كتب له كتب الله له ألف حسنة. Beautiful. And because of this, a lot of the companions, including Umar radiallahu anhu and Salim ibn Abdullah and Muhammad ibn Wasi', they used to go into the marketplace with this intention. So if you have the intention of remembering Allah while you're at work, that intention earns you these wonderful rewards. ألف حسنة. كتب الله له ألف حسنة. So they used to enter the marketplace and says La ilaha illallah, a beautiful dua, لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. No need to translate it here, but beautiful dhikr. If you enter the marketplace and you're thinking about Allah, just say La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La sharika lahu, and so on. This person earns 1,000 times 1,000 blessings. كتب له كتب الله له ألف حسنة. Beautiful. And because of this, a lot of the companions, including Umar radiallahu anhu and Salim ibn Abdullah and Muhammad ibn Wasi', they used to go into the marketplace with this intention. So if you have the intention of remembering Allah while you're at work, that intention earns you these wonderful rewards. ألف حسنة. كتب الله له ألف حسنة. So they used to enter the marketplace with that in their mind. And finally, the story of Al-Junayd, and it's told by Abu Ja'far al-Farghani. He said that one time they complained to Al-Junayd, and they told him, listen, there's some people in the mosque, that's all they do. They just sit in the mosque and make dhikr and pray and do ruku' and sujood. And they complain about those who are in the market. You know, they're sort of almost arrogant about those who are in the market working for their living. So he said, when he heard about this, he says, كم ممن هو في السوق في حكمه أن يدخل المسجد. You know how many? There are a lot of people in the market. Their state is they should come in. Their level of faith is that they should come in to the mosque and pull those by the ears and pull them to the market. Let them go out and be where they are working, because it's better to be in the market and work and struggle for your life, you know, to work hard, to sweat. So he says those are better. And then he tells us, وَإِنِّي لَأَعْرِفُ رَجُلًا يَدْخُلُ السُّوقَ. And I know one man who goes into the market, you know, probably he has a store. He opens his little store and he does his daily litany of 300 rakats, and 30,000 tasbihats. The narrator, Abu Ja'far al-Farghani, he says this is probably Al-Junayd himself who does that. So this is the state of the awliya. The awliya are not people who are just sitting on their hands or just making dhikr. They spend a lot of time reading, memorizing, teaching, learning, but Allah has expanded their time with blessings to the point where they too are very productive. They go to the market, they work for their living, they don't wait for others to help them, to give them money. And while they are in the market, while they are at work in the office, they remember Allah. And this is the most important thing, is that they, you know, we should all be making a living, working hard, being just, fair, honest, excellent, be thinking about the good of the others, of the customers, and always have Allah in our hearts, in our minds. Always be fearful of Him. Always be cognizant of His presence. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.